Right, should we talk transfers? That was probably the most Alan Partridge intro that I'll ever do to a video, but it's Wednesday morning, there's lots happening in the transfer window. It's the 28th of May, the transfer window officially opens on Sunday, the 1st of June for 10 days, and I'm expecting a couple of transfers at least to be confirmed by Liverpool in that time, as well as maybe we might get going with some outgoings as well. So what I thought we could talk about today is a bit of a squad audit almost, look through the current players at Liverpool, who may leave, maybe give a little ranking out of 10 or 100 on how likely they are to leave, who's interested for them, what I'm hearing in that regard, how much Liverpool would want, and then the big question is, who would they be replaced by? Now, it's Wednesday morning, I've got my weekly column coming out at midday, which tackles a few big issues. We talk a little bit about why Liverpool didn't go for Matthias Cunha and why they let Man United have a free pass at him. Was that football related or otherwise? Read all about it. We talk a little bit about Florian Wirtz, which seems to be the topic that comes up every day in these videos. Or every video that I do. I was going to do one on Monday, maybe a video diary it was going to be from the parade, but for obvious reasons I decided that wouldn't be appropriate. But today we are here for tea and transfers, should we call it. I've got some nice chocolate as well that Liverpool kindly gifted me on Sunday. Champions, Cadbury's Champions. And then if anyone wants this, by the way, beautiful cover. If you subscribe, and maybe I'll give you that. But let's talk about transfers. Don't know why my hand came out there. Let's talk about a little bit about incomings first. There's not much going on with Florian Wirtz at the moment. That's not a bad thing. In fact, it's probably a good thing because, as we know, Florian Wirtz has spent the last few days on his holidays. Germany are playing Portugal next Wednesday in Munich. In the the Nations League semi-final, and hopefully Wirtz will be playing. It'll definitely be worth keeping your eye on that. Will he be a Liverpool player when he plays in that game? That is the big question. That's a week today. You would probably say maybe. I think it was this time last week when I said I had a sneaky feeling that Liverpool might just edge ahead in this race. They are now well in command of the race. If you compare it to maybe a marathon, they were just keeping on the tail of Bayern Munich for the middle distance of this saga, but not really troubling them too much. Bayern Munich were always in front of the race, but now Liverpool have shouldered Bayern Munich out of the way, as we know. They've shouldered Man City out of the way. There's a few more miles to go if we stick on that analogy that I've just magically came up in my head with then. But Liverpool are well in command of the race, and unless they fall over, Florian Wirtz is going to be a Liverpool player next season. I can't see this one falling through anytime soon. It's just all about the money, the add-ons, the achievable add-ons, the length of the contract maybe as well, any more incentives to buy a Leverkusen. As we know, Leverkusen want a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. As I've outlined in the last videos though, it is worth every single penny. Or euro, whatever Bayer Leverkusen want. I'm not saying Liverpool should just go, there you go, Leverkusen, there's an open checkbook, but I do think that if it is over 100 million, it will be worth it looking at the profile of the player. I've watched a lot of his games in the last week just to get a feel for what he is. I've really only seen him in the big games where he's been on telly. I watched him obviously a lot of the Euros last season, for Leverkusen a few times in the last 18 months. But I've gone back through on Y-Scout and gone through a few of his other games, and genuinely what a player. He is a superstar in the making. No, sorry, that's wrong. He is a superstar and he's going to get even better. So when that one's done, I will be all over it, and it'll probably happen on Friday, which is when I'm going on holiday for a few days. So it's probably going to happen as soon as I put my phone away and think, right, it's been a long season, let's just have a rest for a few days. But that's how it worked in my job. You're never truly off the clock. It's going to be a big summer for Liverpool. I said a few weeks ago, maybe 5, even 6 players through the door this window. I'm already 3 of them, 4 even have their foot firmly in that door. That's counting Jeremie, who counts as a signing for this summer. He's going to be on the finances for this summer. So that's something that Liverpool have to consider when they are balancing the books, and we're going to come on to how they will balance those books in a second. Jeremie Frimpong is through the door pretty much. That one should be announced next week. I spoke to someone who knows Frimpong very well yesterday, and I'll be doing a video about that. I'll probably get it ready for when that one is announced, just so it looks like I'm working when I'm on holiday. Florian Wirtz, as we just discussed, looks to be heading in that direction too. And Milos Kerkez, the Bournemouth left back. Club to club has not been agreed yet, but player to club looks like it should be fairly straightforward, and it feels like that one has been heading in the direction of him signing for Liverpool for a few months now, going back all the way to Christmas really. So what about outgoings then now? Should we go through the squad maybe position by position? Obviously we know Alisson, he's not going to go anywhere. He's got an option to extend his deal by an extra year, which keeps him at the club for an extra 2 seasons. He is 32 years old, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon, but they have done that succession planning with Jeremie coming in this summer from Valencia. And that means that Quiveen Kelleher will be leaving Liverpool almost certainly. Now, I think this one could move on a bit today. I'm recording this at about 10:30 in the morning. And I think by the time I put it out at about 5 or 6 p.m, it will probably have moved on, because I think now the season's finished, I think clubs are going to really step up their pursuit of different players. Kelleher has a number of Premier League clubs interested. That list includes Bournemouth, it includes West Ham, it includes Leeds. I think it also includes Brentford. So that's 4 clubs, and there's probably more out there as well. Liverpool would want about 25 million for Kelleher. They wanted the same last summer. They wouldn't have stood in his way if a club bid that, but they didn't. So Forest came in with that meagre offer of, I can't remember what it was, about 7 or 8 million plus Matt Turner, which that's a disgrace of an offer for a player of Kelleher's standards. He's been a big contributor to Liverpool's success over the last 2 years when Alisson has been injured. So I would say it's 95% likely that Kelleher leaves. As for the other goalkeepers, Vítězslav Jaros recently triggered an extension in his deal. He's won the Austrian Bundesliga, he's won the Austrian Cup. Does he want to go and be a number 1 elsewhere, or does he want another season at Liverpool? I think that one, I would probably say he ends up staying, but it's not a guarantee. Moving on to the right backs, Conor Bradley signed a new deal 2 weeks ago, so he's not going anywhere. Jeremie Frimpong will be competing for that position as well, and obviously we know that Frimpong may play in different positions as well. I reported a couple of weeks ago that RB Leipzig's Lutzschar or Gertrude was also being monitored. And does the Frimpong deal kibosh that? Well, probably, but not definitely, because Gertrude can play in multiple positions. So that's the right backs. The left backs, Andy Robertson, he's got a year left on his deal, and it does feel like that will be the last year of his at Liverpool. But what a servant he's been, and he still has a big role to play, whether or not Kerkez joins him in that left back spot. I don't think Kerkez will be coming in and straight away taking that spot as his own. Robertson, I don't think he's been quite as bad as some people may say this season. Will he leave this summer? It seems very, very unlikely. Liverpool need to keep him around for his leadership qualities, I would say. And then the other left back, of course, is Kostas Tsimikas, the Greek scouser, posted on Instagram at some point last night, was it, to basically say how happy he is. There are some reports that he may go this summer. Well, there are a lot of reports that he may go this summer, and it does seem very likely. I would say that one is probably more towards 80-85% that Tsimikas will go this summer. In terms of clubs interested, Leeds are one of them. There's clubs abroad, I think Valencia, Lille, and another one that's escaped my brain. But wherever Tsimikas goes, he'll be waved off. in terms with open arms. Is that a saying? Can you be waved off in open arms, or you can be greeted in open arms? But whatever. He's not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a bit of a cult figure. He's loved in the squad as well, so it'll be a shame to see him go, but it does feel like the right time if Liverpool sign Kerkez. Going through the centre-back department then, Virgil just signed his new deal. Absolutely forget the chance of him going anywhere, as much as clubs would have tried 6 months ago. I think I said Chelsea were one of them. Ibrahim and Konate, a little bit less certain. We spoke to him in the mix zone on Sunday, was it? And he said, he loves the club. His agent held talks with Liverpool last week in terms of extending that contract. But there were a lot of reports around Christmas into the New Year time that Liverpool were accelerating talks for Konate. That's not the case, but it doesn't mean anything really. It doesn't mean that it's heading in a bad direction. It just doesn't mean it's been resolved in a good way yet. As we know, Real Madrid are lurking in the background for Konate, and after what's happened with Trent Alexander-Arnold, then Liverpool do need to be cautious with that. But it's a case of Richard Hughes and the other guys just sitting down with Konate and thrashing it out, because I don't think they would want him to leave on a free anytime soon, whether he goes this summer or next. I can't really see him going this summer, but next summer is a bit less certain. That is one to keep an eye on, certainly. And then the other two centre-backs are really interesting cases. You've got Jarell Quansah. Now, I've written in my column, I think today, or I've written in some sort of piece that's not been published yet. Quansah has a lot of clubs sniffing around him, keeping an eye on him, both in England and in the German Bundesliga. One of them could be Bayer Leverkusen, because obviously, as we know, Jonathan Tah is off to Bayern Munich, leaving Leverkusen. It's been a bit of an exodus from Leverkusen in the last few weeks, so maybe they could try and get Quansah, but Liverpool would want a lot of money for him. We're talking around £50 million. As we know, Newcastle tried last summer and got knocked back. It's been a frustrating season, let's put it that way, for Quansah. Brilliant first campaign under Klopp last year, but it's not really kicked on. If anything, he's probably gone backwards, and I think that he would maybe admit that, but I don't think it's been quite as bad as some people have let on. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Quansah this summer. I would say more likely to stay, but I would not be surprised at all if he leaves. And the same can be said about Joe Gomez. I definitely don't think that Liverpool will sell both of them in terms of Gomez and Quansah, but I think that it feels like one of them will probably leave this summer. Gomez has not played a single minute in 2025 due to his injuries. And even before that, he was struggling to get a kick of the ball. Didn't even make the squad for that first Premier League game under Arne Slot. So it feels like we could be coming towards the end for Liverpool's longest serving player, and that would be a big shame. But to counteract that, Arne Slot said last week what a brilliant character he is. He contributes a lot more than people at home may think, because of just how his leadership qualities, his abilities in the dressing room to G up the group. So one of Quansah or Gomez could feasibly leave, but neither of them are clear cut just yet. As I say, we are still only in May. But what I would say about all of these is Liverpool are going to have a big summer in terms of incomings, and the outlay could reach up to about 250, 300 million. The only way they can do that is if they sell players. And I think one of the defenders, if they do want to sign a defender, which as far as I'm aware they are looking at options for that role, then I think they would have to sell one of those to balance the books a little bit. So a couple of sales in the defence and goalkeeper department will probably happen. Kelleher, let's say 25 million. Tsimikas, what would you say, 15 million maybe? That takes us to 40, and then one of the two centre halves will probably take us, give or take, to about 80. And then could they make more money with Harvey Elliott? Now he's the big talking point in the midfield department. Very sad to see how sad he was really on Sunday and Monday at the celebrations, because I think he knows deep down that this is the end of the road for him at Liverpool, and he loves the club so much. He said that multiple times. He's a brilliant lad, is Harvey. When we speak to him in the mix zone, he always wears his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't beat around the bush with what he replies. He clearly loves the club. He calls it my club, but it's just not worked for him this season. He is only 22, but maybe it is the right time for him to leave this summer. I thought I was going to die. So yeah, there are a couple of clubs interested in Harvey, I think, in both England and abroad. Brighton have been mooted before. Leverkusen are in the market for a Wirtz replacement, and Dortmund as well have shown an interest. I'm led to believe, in terms of the other midfielders, well, Gravenberch's not going anywhere. Curtis Jones, very unlikely to be going anywhere. The same about Dominic Szoboszlai. The only real question marks are Endo. You know, he's played a big role this season when he's come off the bench and seen out games. Would you want to get rid of Endo? I think he's a brilliant squad player to have, and what I would say is Liverpool would be fools to get rid of him before they go on the tour to Japan, because he's going to be getting wheeled out for everything. Is the Japan captain, and rightly so. What a proud moment for the country of Japan for Endo to lift the Premier League on Sunday. So as we know, a couple of clubs showed an interest last summer. I think it was Marseille, was it, that made a bid, but Liverpool were not prepared to sell him until they had a replacement. As we know, they went for Martin Zubimendi, didn't quite work out. But Endo, I would keep him around if I was Liverpool, unless they are to sign a midfielder. But yeah, I would keep him around, but it's not a guarantee. I would probably say he's 60-70% staying at this stage, but that could change. Another one in that midfield department who could leave though, and is probably likely to leave, is Tyler Morton. Now I feel like we've spoke about Leverkusen more than Liverpool in this video, but they put a real good offer on the table for Morton last summer. It was a loan, but built into the contract was a sort of guarantee that he would play around 50% of Leverkusen's games. And their push to Morton was basically, come to play for us, and we will take you to the next level. And then at the end of the season, you can decide what you want to do. The push to Liverpool was, give us Morton and we can double his price tag. Morton really wanted to move, but Liverpool needed that extra body in midfield, so blocked it basically. There are a number of clubs after him on a permanent. Liverpool wanted about 20-25. Not many clubs were prepared to pay that, and I think it's fair to say his price tag has probably decreased this season when he's not been playing at all for Liverpool. But I would say it seems likely that Morton will be one to move on next summer. There's a couple of youngsters in and around the first team in the midfield department too, such as James McConnell. I know that when McConnell he had a couple of loans lined up to the Championship, and there was one in League One as well. But Slot called him into his office and basically said, listen, you'll learn more training with us than you will out on loan. He says, you know, there's no reason why in a year's time you can't be holding the backup number 6 role almost. So I would say it's going to be a big year ahead for McConnell. I think he does have a little injury at the moment, but it would be nice to see him on that pre-season tour of Asia, which I'll be going to, but my flight's yesterday actually. And then to round off this squad audit, should we call it, and I do have some biscuits here that I'm gagging to crack into, but I'll wait until I've finished the video. The forward line is probably where there's the most question marks, because a lot depends on incoming. So the only certainty is that Salah will be at Liverpool next season, and I think Cody Gakpo is also very, very likely to also be at Liverpool next season. The other 4 all have major question marks over them. So we don't need to talk about Salah. The only thing to say on Gakpo is that Bayern Munich are definitely interested. I saw that was reported last week in Germany. I checked it out, and it is true, they are keen, alongside they like Kaoru Mitoma as well, but I can't see Liverpool selling Cody Gakpo this summer. No way. He's about to reach his prime. He's had a good season. I do think there is an extra level that he can reach, but I think that under Slot he will start to, you know, become more consistent. I think that's the big step now for Cody. The other lot, Luis Diaz, Barcelona like him, we know that. Will they sign him? I'm not sure. I would personally, unless the money is absolutely massive, I would keep Luis Diaz around, definitely. And Diogo Jota. Well, it's been a poor season for Jota. He's 28 now. He's missed a lot of the last, 4 campaigns with injury, including this one. I remember sitting down with him in Philadelphia last summer and he said, like, this is my time to have a fully fit season. Didn't quite work out for him. I feel sorry for him in a way, but it's not been a good season for Jota. He's not really found his top form after his injury. As we know, he's been looked at by the Saudis. Depends on incomings, but I wouldn't completely rule out Jota going this summer, definitely. The one that I would probably say is most likely to leave is Darwin Núñez. As we know, in January, the Saudis came knocking, basically said, we want Núñez. Liverpool said, you're not having Núñez. They basically thought he's got a big role to play in the second half of the season in terms of, contributing in the title race. And it has to be said that was probably vindicated looking at that goal, the 2 goals that he scored off the bench at Brentford to win the game. Although Liverpool won the title by about 1 million points in the end, at that point it was closer, and that really sent a message out to the likes of Arsenal and whoever else was in the race at the time to say, like, come on lads, we're serious now. And Núñez did play a role in that, but overall he's not lived up to his price tag. He's not been good enough for Liverpool, and I think it would be about the right time to say goodbye. There's obviously been question marks over his training output, should we say, his training ethic. Slot's called him out publicly. He's not called anyone out publicly apart from Darwin this season, as far as I can remember. There was also rumours of a bust-up on the training ground. Slot was a bit coy when asked about that. He said he wasn't left out of the squad because of injury. He wasn't left out of the squad because of illness. And it left you thinking, well, what was he left out of the squad for then? So it's hard to see Núñez sticking about, especially if Liverpool sign a striker. And my information is when Wirtz is wrapped up, the attention will turn to a number 9 signing as Liverpool look to accelerate that. And that pretty much wraps up the squad, apart from the guy who I started the video with whistling the best song that's been stuck in my head for far too long. Singing it in the shower, whistling it while I'm walking down the street. It's really annoying actually at this point. But Federico Chiesa, what an individual he is, by the way. It would be a great shame to see him leave, but 5 Premier League appearances, 1 start, less than 120 minutes. He's not been on the pitch for more than 2 hours in the Premier League. It doesn't really feel like he's going to be here next season. But what I would say is, although Liverpool do need to sell players this summer to balance the books, they also need to factor in they can't sell them all. So maybe Chiesa is one to stick around, because if you think, let's say they sign a number 9 and then Núñez goes, that's a 6 forward. They're going to need backup is what I'm saying. The other one that I forgot to mention actually, some of the returning loanees, Ben Doak, as we know, Everton, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Ipswich made a bid in January, but I can't see that now, they've been relegated. So Doak, 25 million, can Liverpool raise that? Maybe even 30. Can't see clubs paying 30, but he is a great player, is Ben Doak. Just has missed half of each of the last 2 campaigns with injury. So if he can't sort them injuries out, maybe it is the right time to say goodbye to him. Personally, I would be tempted to keep him around unless a massive bid comes in, maybe loan him out again. And who else is coming back from loan? Well, there's Jadon Danns. It would be nice to see him get another loan next season. There's Lewis Kumas, there's Owen Beck. They've got interest from the Championship and bottom half of the Premier League. They could raise a little book as well. So when you add it all together, Liverpool could easily raise about 150 million this summer. That would significantly balance out the signings of Wirtz, Frimpong, Kerkez, a striker, and maybe a defender as well. So it's going to be a big summer, as I keep saying, but I'm going to get off to my tea and biscuits, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Have a good one.